We're back. I wanted to do. Sorry, I'm kind of sick, but I wanted to do another video. I got the time. Cause I just been running around trying to get things done and do different things to get out of my situation, but I've been spinning my wheels a lot, not getting anywhere, and I haven't had time to do videos. So yeah, I'm sick. I got a cold. Car's acting up, but I wanted to do a video about a different topic about how I grew up in the hood. I grew up in a rough neighborhood, and but I didn't really try to be a part of it. I didn't try to be a part of it too much. Sorry, I think it had a big impact on my life. And I think if I grew up somewhere else, my life would be totally different. If I grew up in the suburbs, I'd have probably turned out a lot different. I would have probably been a lot different. But I grew up in a rough neighborhood. I grew up to a single mom, and she didn't have a lot of money, so she could only afford certain places. And a couple of these places we lived were around the same neighborhood, same area. They were just cheaper places in the urban city, in worse worser type neighborhoods. I didn't know it as a kid. It wasn't affecting me that much. It didn't affect me that much. I didn't notice until I got a lot older. When I was little, well, I want to say when I was little, I kind of noticed when I was going to school around grade, maybe third or fourth grade, because we would walk to school like a mile or 2 miles to get to school and back every day. And had a problem with kids trying to bully us and run and chase us and beat us up. A couple of times, it was like it was kind of dangerous. I remember kind of trying to go certain ways to not get beat up, to get home safe. And I think my mom might have noticed that and might have put me in after school program. Maybe that was why. And then she also put me in my brother in she's me and my brother, but we were still getting jumped and beat up by other kids, bigger, older kids that would do it for fun, out of spite, which is kind of weird. Isn't not something you thought about would happen. Something you think would happen in a normal neighborhood. You don't think kids are just gonna go out and beat up other kids smaller than them, but some kids are like that. I wasn't like that. I wasn't looking for trouble, but it's a little innocent boy. But my mom ended up. I think she noticed we were getting beat up. She put me in after school program at the Boys and Girls Clubs, and so I grew up in the rec centers too. And I remember she put me in. She put me in. I think after we got beat up and stuff, she put us in like martial arts. It's kind of coming kind of big in the mid '80s. Put us in martial arts so we can learn how to defend ourselves and fight and stuff. And did that for a few years until we became a little older, I think, and became better at fighting maybe, but we didn't really use it too much. I think we got beat up a couple times, and then the rec centers, they watched and took care of us. I was surrounded by a lot of black kids, so it was like kind of racial tension. The black kids like to pick on white kids, so maybe that was part of it. Maybe they just were out to beat up white kids. And so I dealt with that a lot growing up in elementary until my mom moved a couple miles away to a little bit better neighborhood. And so right around, I think I'm gonna say about 10. Oh, I also want to mention I was kind of mischievous. I did do some little pranks and stuff here and there. I was kind of like I want to say I was a little bit foolish and a little bit, um, the normal kid stuff, trying to bend the rules and play around, play games, and get into a little trouble. So I did have a little trouble streak. I think I pulled a kid's chair out one time and his head hit the table, and felt bad about that. And then I also wrote like this song that we learned in the rec centers about hurting my teacher, and I got a good speech about that, and they were really serious about that. And I was like, no, it's just a joke, and I typed it out and I printed out, and got in trouble. But other than that, I didn't do too much. I just did a couple little things here and there for little kid trouble stuff. But after about 10, 11, we moved to a better place, a little bit better part of the neighborhood, and then we went. I think I was pretty good. I got involved in school and started being productive and doing cool things and trying to participate and be a good student. But right around like middle school, maybe, we started skipping school and trying to rebel because I don't know, puberty, because you just want to see what else you can do. And it was probably stupid. We probably should have stayed in school and tried to do our best, but we just wanted to rebel in some ways. But I think I got in one other fight in school with somebody. I got in one fight. I got in a couple arguments. Um, I don't know. There was a lot of things that happened in middle school and junior high, skipping and then stealing. Oh, started stealing and stuff from stores because I wanted stuff. You go through that phase, and then my teenage years, I started hanging out with the riffraff, and then I was just naive and immature and ignorant. I didn't really have my dad wasn't around. I didn't have a father figure, and my mom was always working, and so you want to go see what you can do, get into trouble, and try to explore the world, and see what's possible you can get away with. And I got into a bunch of trouble. I started stealing from different stores, getting caught, and then I had to go to juvie, and then I got caught stealing, trying to break into cars, and had to go back to juvie and these places, and then do community hours and stuff. But like right around that time, I noticed that the neighborhood was getting worse, and things were getting worse, and the people, all the kids I was hanging around, were starting to do crazy stuff, and everything just started to spin out of control right then. Like right around my teenage years, 16, 17, we started getting onto drugs, weed, and acid, and drinking, and a whole bunch of different things. Just the whole the whole shebang. We just started tapping into everything, and everything was wide open. It was like no rules, So I didn't have a father figure. I had the streets to look towards for guidance, and that wasn't a good place because I got misled by a bunch of people. And it's no excuse. It's just I wasn't smart enough to realize that I should have just stuck to my stuck to myself and tried to dial in. But I think I was just apathetic, really apathetic about life. I didn't believe there was a purpose, and I didn't believe I could be more and get more out of life because I grew up around a bunch of pessimism and a bunch of lack. And so I think that gave me a sense of insecurity, and I think not having anything for long periods of time and not getting anything from my parents, it makes you feel less than. It makes you feel like you can't have those things, and I couldn't see it from what it was. I did have a couple of people try to get good influence on us, but I think I didn't identify with a lot of those people. I didn't feel like I was like them. I didn't think I could be like them. I think I had the intelligence to do it and be like them, but it was just my attitude and my focus was way off. I just wanted to party and do dumb stuff with friends. Like that was gonna be everything. But you soon learn. You soon learn. So I just got into the drug crowd. Got into the kids in the neighborhood and started using and hanging out. And that was a lifestyle, man. Just going from drug to drug and place to place, different people and hanging out with random people here and there and doing different kinds of things, smoking weed, mostly smoking weed and drinking. That was the biggest thing, smoking blunts and drinking malt liquor, of all things, malt liquor or beer or whatever. It was just like the party was on, bro. It was just like, I don't know. There's some reason we had to just go out and party and drink, and we had to be doing that. And at such a young age, like 17, 18, 19, drinking and partying, and that was it. It was like, looking back, you can realize how much a waste of time that was. You feel bad about it, but I ended up getting into trouble and a few times, and getting fights with people, and a couple of times I had guns pointed at me, and probably more than normal. Like I can count like 4 or 5 times a gun has been pointed at me, which is not normal. An average person probably goes their whole life without that happening, and it's been 4 or 5 times. So it's like your environment, you got to question sooner or later. And then I got into a few fights, randomly, just hanging out or at the bar, randomly in different places. And so I would end up getting drunk and passing out in places and getting too high to function right. And so I wasted a lot of those years just not doing anything, just staying high. It was a big hazy time. It was a big fuzzy time, looking back. It was like from my late teens to my whole 20s. I turned to drugs and I just got lost. And I feel like that part of me I can't get back. I just lost it to drugs and alcohol and stuff. And so there's a big part of me, like 10, 15 years, where I was just stuck. Drugs and alcohol. And I didn't do anything positive. I tried to hook up with a girl and do the normal thing, and it just never worked out because I was too blind to see that all I cared about was drugs. I might have been trying to do something else, but really, when it all boiled down, I was too consumed by chase of after drugs, the getting high. Your whole life revolves around it. It comes back to it. And it's like you'll get stuck in that place, and you'll never be able to break free and grow up. And so I think I'm stuck. Like that's part of why I have a problem now. Like I'm stuck because I got caught up on drugs for a long time, and it's just kept my life on pause. And now I'm trying to catch up, do something with my life, but it's too late because a lifetime of work and achievement takes a long time to do, and to do something great, it just takes so much time and effort. And it's like I've been trying to put my life back together in like a few years, in 5 years, compared to tearing it apart for 10, 15 years. I did a bunch of destruction, and so to piece that back together it's gonna be kind of hard. But growing up in a bad environment, it didn't help. Growing up around a bunch of crazy people doing crazy things, around a violent neighborhood, drug infested neighborhood with prostitutes and crackheads and people, alcoholics, and there's a big percentage of it in certain areas, like where everybody's on drugs and alcohol. So if you're surrounded by that, you're bound to get in trouble, bro. You're bound to get attacked, have your stuff stolen. We constantly got stuff stolen, or had, break in, or somebody tried to steal our car, they stole our bikes. It was just non-stop, bro. It was always something messed up. You go to the nice neighborhood, they don't steal anything. It's just like you can leave your stuff sitting out. But I was constantly getting stuff stolen, trying to get robbed with people with guns, and jumped and beat up, and there was just a lot of that type of stuff going on. So you had to watch yourself. You had to watch your back wherever you went. You had to make sure you were careful on who you walked by and where you went. And I didn't fit into the hood type thing either. I didn't want to be. I guess I kind of wanted to rebel and do the little hippie thing and get into a little trouble and act out a little bit and test the water. But I didn't want to be that person that got into a bunch of trouble and lived that life and go to prison and become a gangbanger and all that stuff, because it's like I knew that wasn't the right route to go. I knew it wasn't going to be good for me because I'm just not that type of person. But I also watched my uncle go down that road, and I seen him spend most of his life in prison because he was trying to be that, but he wasn't even good at it. So it's like he wasted his whole life for no reason. He was chasing after that high, or that feeling of like he can do anything and get away. And I think it was all about a rush and he thought it was kind of cool or something, but he ended up not doing anything with his life. He ended up wasting his whole life. He didn't do anything fun or great. He got maybe a car here and a place there, but he didn't do anything that cool. He spent most of his life in prison chasing after dumb things, drugs, and women, and drinking alcohol and getting into trouble, and then spending most of his life on time out in prison. So I mean, he spent probably 30 years in prison total. All the time, I hardly ever seen him. He was gone most of my childhood. He might have came home when I was like 20. I seen him when I was a little kid, and then I seen him when I was like 20, and then, so Who wants to do that? Who wants to waste their whole lives not getting anything? He didn't even do anything. He got a couple cars, and that was it. And then he didn't. Then he became old, and he was out here trying to do the same things because I guess he was institutionalized or something. But he grew up in the city too, and so he just he could have did a lot of things different. He could have went, worked, saved money, moved far away, got a nice house, and settled down and got a woman. And so I didn't want to end up like him. I don't want to end up like him, and I'm close to ending up like him because, and I'm scared that I might end up, without any of that stuff, without a place to live and a woman or somebody to share a life with. And I didn't realize how important that was too. I think growing up in the hood, I didn't appreciate it, but it was it was the fact that I grew up in a bad environment didn't help me to. I think it was that partly growing up in a bad environment. I was trying to cope and drink and stuff, do drugs to get by, but people romanticize that, but if I would have grew up somewhere else, I'd probably have a totally different life, and it's hard to imagine. But you could kind of see it with other people, and I'm kind of jealous. I feel like I missed out on some few things, missed out on a bunch of things because my dad wasn't around, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to turn it around. So I I feel like the bad environment was a problem because I moved away to test it, to test that theory, to test my belief on how a bad environment affects you. And so I moved away for like the past few years. And I was right in a way. It was better. My life was better. I didn't have much. I didn't know that many people. I didn't talk to that many people. And so by going away, I got to experience life outside of a negative environment in a nicer neighborhood. And life is totally different. I lived a totally different life. So that was probably a good thing to see the differences and to see how polarizing it is, how much more healthy lives people live in these other places, which are only a few miles away. It's pretty sad. It's only, it's only a few miles away. It's only right down the street. But I guess the price difference and your income creates a life for you, creates a circumstance, can create a can create a boundary or you know something that blocks you from being greater. I think we're affected by everything, and so America seems like it's getting kind of bad, but and the opportunities are lacking. But growing up in the hood, it was really rough, really rough. It was. I didn't think about it that much, but I went through a lot of different things, fighting and just stuff you shouldn't have to worry about. Being chased and having to watch over your back and just stuff that's not normal, bro. Just you grow up in a dangerous neighborhood. There's not much here, so people fight for everything, and it's like you shouldn't have to be like that. But I probably should have went and left earlier. I should have tried to get my stuff together and just moved far away a lot earlier. I just didn't know how. I was so numb to everything for a long time, just chasing after drugs. So gonna make up for it. I think I can make up for it. I think I can piece back together somewhat of the life and show people that it's possible. So, thank you for watching.